Hi, I'm Tim. This is the fifth in a series of lessons that will help you learn how to play blues guitar. In this lesson, we'll focus on two closely related techniques that help give the guitar its distinctive and expressive sound. The first technique is note bending, which is very common in blues guitar playing. You bend notes to make them go up in pitch by pushing or pulling on the string. The second technique is called vibrato, wavering the pitch by slightly wiggling the string. Both of these techniques are central to the blues guitar style, and they'll add a lot of character to your playing. In this lesson, you'll learn how to bend notes in a few different ways, how to play notes with vibrato, and finish with some lead licks that use both note bending and vibrato. Let's get started. First, let's try some note bends so you can get a feel for it. We'll start up on the 7th fret, then move up and down the neck to try bending different notes. Put your third finger on the 7th fret of the 3rd string. When you pick the string, push the note up towards the ceiling with your fretting finger. Be sure to keep some pressure on the string that you're bending so it doesn't slip out from under your finger. Now try moving your hand up and down the neck and bending some different notes. You can also try bending notes on different strings. You can bend the string just a little, like this, or you can really push it hard and bend it a lot, like this. If you're playing a steel string acoustic guitar, it might be harder to bend notes very far. It might even hurt a little when you're first starting out. But if you keep at it, your fingers will get tougher and develop more strength, so you'll be able to bend notes farther and control the pitch better. The most important thing to keep in mind when you're learning how to bend notes is to know what note you're bending up to. Usually, you want the note you're bending to be a note from the scale. For it to be on pitch, you have to be able to first hear it in your mind, then make the note you play match what you hear. Let's start by focusing on small bends that bend the note up a half step. Bending up a half step means that the note will match the note on the next higher fret. For example, if I put my third finger on the 7th fret of the 3rd string, I get this note, D. If I play the next fret up with my 4th finger, I get the note a half step higher, a D sharp. Try bending the D up a half step so it matches the pitch of the D sharp. Play the D sharp with your 4th finger, then bend the D up with your 3rd finger until the pitch is the same. You can use your other fingers to help push the string up. For instance, while I'm bending the D with my 3rd finger, see how I also use my 1st and 2nd fingers to help push the strings. Try that a few times. Now try a half step bend with your 4th finger. Put your 4th finger on the 10th fret of the 1st string, which is also a D, 1 octave higher. Now slide your finger up 1 fret and play the next higher note, D sharp. Now slide back down to the 10th fret and try bending the D until it matches the pitch of the D sharp, like this. Try it a few times. Remember that you can use your other fingers to help push the string up. Now try a half step bend with your 1st finger. 1st finger bends are a little bit more challenging because you can't use any other fingers to help push the string. Play the D at the 7th fret of the 3rd string with your 1st finger. Then put your 2nd finger on the 8th fret and play the D sharp. Now use your ear to help you as you bend the D with your first finger up to match the pitch of the higher note. Let's play that a few times. In the practice chapter of this lesson, there are some simple licks that will help you get more comfortable with half-step bends using different fingers. Just remember to let your ear guide you as you bend the note up to the higher pitch. Next, let's try a bigger note bend, where we bend up 2 half steps, which can also be called a whole step. In a whole step bend, you'll match the note 2 frets higher on the neck. Whole step bends take more finger strength than half step bends and are more difficult, especially on a steel string acoustic guitar. If this is too hard or uncomfortable, skip this section and come back to it later. If you keep working on half step bends, you can try whole step bends again once your fingers are stronger. Let's try a whole step bend from D at the 7th fret of the 3rd string with your 3rd finger. Up 2 frets, or a whole step, to an E. You can also use the open 1st string E to check the pitch of the bent note while you're bending, like this. Just like half-step bends, you can use your other fingers to help push the string. Let's try that a few more times. Don't get frustrated if you can't bend the note all the way, or if it seems out of tune. It takes a lot of practice to build up the strength and control in your fingers to do this. Now try another whole step bend, this time on the 2nd string. Put your 2nd finger on the 13th fret to play a C, and bend up to D. Bending notes can cause your guitar to go out of tune pretty quickly, so it's a good idea to use the tuner frequently to check your tuning. Another way to use note bending is with a technique called prebending, or reverse bending. It sounds like this. Prebending is when you bend the string before you pick the note, so the pitch starts high, then falls down to the normal fretted note. Prebending can be challenging. Since you bend the note before playing it, you can't hear how high the note will be when you pick the string. But practicing this technique will help you develop a feel for how far to bend the string to get a half step or a whole step prebend. Let's start with a half step prebend on the 3rd string. First, put your 4th finger on the 8th fret and play a D sharp to get the sound in your ear. Now put your 3rd finger on the 7th fret and bend the note up a little, and then pick the string. If the note is too high, don't bend it quite so much. If it's too low, bend a bit more. Once you get it, let the note fall back to the D. Try this a few times by first playing the D sharp on the 8th fret, pre-bending the 7th fret, picking the note, and finally letting the note fall to D. When you think you have the feeling of this bend under your fingers, you can try playing it without checking the pitch, like this. Now try a whole step prebend, starting from the same D on the 7th fret of the 3rd string. Remember that a whole step is the same as the note 2 frets higher, in this case E, here on the 9th fret. Play the E, prebend, pushing the string a bit farther than on the half step bend, pick the string, and let it fall back to the D. Let's try it a few more times. Play the E, prebend, pick the string, check your pitch, and let that note fall. Once you feel that you're matching the pitch pretty well, you can just play the bend without playing the E first, like this. Take some time and practice prebends on different strings, and using different fingers. The most important thing is to try to hear the note that you're bending to before you bend. You can also go to the practice chapter of this lesson, where you can work on some simple riffs that'll help you develop your prebending technique. Vibrato is a technique that's used by singers and instrumentalists to add expression to their sound. To play a note with vibrato, you shake the note up and down just a little to give the pitch a slight wavering quality, like this. You can play vibrato using any of your fingers. To play with vibrato, push and pull your finger up and down on the string a little when you play a note, like this. You can give it a quick vibrato or a slower vibrato. Another expressive way to use vibrato on a longer note is to start the note without vibrato, then add vibrato to it afterwards, like this. There are a lot of different ways to play vibrato. Experiment with some different techniques and find the one that works best for you. Some of the lead riffs we'll learn later in this lesson use vibrato on some notes. There's not one right way, so find a style and sound that's best for you. Now let's learn a lick that uses half-step bends. This lead lick will work well with the song in the play chapter of this lesson. It goes like this. You can play this lick using a few notes of the A minor pentatonic scale. Use your first finger on the 5th fret of the first string to play the root A. Move it across to the 5th fret of the second string to play E, then back to the first string to play A again. With your 3rd finger on the 7th fret of the second string, play an F sharp. Then bend the note up a half step to a G and hold it. To practice this riff, use a down, up picking pattern like this. Down, up, down, up. Down, up, down, up. Let's try it together at a nice, slow tempo. 3, 4. If you'd like, you can work on this riff some more in the practice chapter of this lesson. The next lick uses both whole step bends and whole step prebends. It goes like this. This lick also uses notes from the A minor pentatonic scale. So start by placing your hand with your first finger over the 5th fret. Play the root A with your 3rd finger on the 7th fret of the 4th string. Then play C with your first finger on the 5th fret of the 3rd string. Play D on the 7th fret of the 3rd string with your 3rd finger. Then bend that up to a whole step to E. You can check the pitch of the E by playing the first string open when you practice this lick. Let's play it a couple of times. The second part of the riff uses the same notes but in reverse order, like this. Start with the D on the third string, pre-bent up to E. Then let it fall back to D. Next, play C on the 5th fret of the 3rd string. And finally, play the root A on the 7th fret of the 4th string. Let's play just that part a few times. Now let's play both parts together. These whole step bends take a lot of finger strength. If you're having trouble bending far enough to get the right pitch, work on building up your strength by practicing half-step bends, then come back to practicing whole step bends. This lick has 2 notes that are held out, or sustained, with vibrato. It goes like this. Like the previous licks, this one also uses the A minor pentatonic scale at the 5th fret. Start by placing your hand so your first finger is over the 5th fret, and play E using your 3rd finger on the 7th fret of the 5th string. From here we'll go up the scale. Put your first finger on the 5th fret of the 4th string. Then your 3rd finger on the 7th fret. Use your first finger on the 5th fret of the 3rd string to play C. Then play D with your 3rd finger on the 7th fret. Play D again, but this time add vibrato. Let's play it a couple of times. The second part of the lick comes back down the scale, like this. Start on E with your first finger on the 5th fret of the 2nd string. Play D with your 3rd finger on the 7th fret of the 3rd string. Then play C with your first finger on the 5th fret and give it some vibrato. Now finish by playing the root A with your 3rd finger on the 7th fret of the 4th string. Let's play just this second part. Let's put the 2 parts together. If you can't get your vibrato sounding great right away, try working on the vibrato exercise in the practice chapter of this lesson. This next series of licks are similar to the style of legendary blues guitarist Freddie King. They use both half-step and whole-step bends as well as vibrato, and are a lot more challenging to play than the previous licks. I'll play the whole thing for you, and then we'll break it down phrase by phrase. Let's start with the first phrase that goes like this. With your first finger on the 5th fret of the first string, play the root A. Then play an E with the same finger on the same fret of the 2nd string. Now with your 4th finger, bend the G on the 8th fret up a whole step. And repeat that 3 times. Now let's play it together a few times. The second phrase is like an answer to the first one. It goes like this. Again, we'll start with A on the 5th fret of the first string. Then play G with your 4th finger on the 8th fret of the 2nd string. Play both notes again, A to G. Then play C with your 1st finger on the 5th fret of the 3rd string. Then play A with your 3rd finger on the 7th fret of the 4th string. Now we'll play what's called a double stop, like a small chord with only 2 notes. Put your first finger across both the 3rd and 2nd strings at the 5th fret to play both C and E together. And finish on the root again, but now give it some vibrato. Let's try that phrase slowly. Now let's try playing both phrases together a few times, nice and slow. The next phrase is meant to be played over the 5 chord of the 12-bar blues progression. It goes like this. Start again on the A on the 7th fret of the 4th string. Play the C on the 5th fret of the 3rd string, then up to D on the 7th fret. Play that D again, but bend it up a half step to D sharp. Play C again on the 5th fret, then up to D on the 7th fret, back to C, then up to D again. Bend the D up a half step to D sharp, let it fall back down to D, and give the D some vibrato. Let's try that phrase slowly. The end of the lick is just a repeat of the second phrase, like this. Now let's try to put the whole thing together, up to tempo, playing the first 2 phrases 2 times before moving on to the last 2 phrases. If you can't play it this fast, use the speed slider to slow it down. 1, 2, 3. can work on all of these licks and the bending and vibrato techniques from this lesson in the practice chapter. And when you feel you're ready, you can try your own solos using these licks and techniques with the band and the play chapter. I hope you have fun. In this section, we'll play some licks that'll help you work on half-step bends using different fingers. Remember to think of the note you're bending to as you practice your bends. The first lick helps you practice half-step bends with your third finger and goes like this. Start by playing C with your first finger on the 5th fret of the 3rd string. Then play D with your 3rd finger on the 7th fret. Now bend the D up a half step to D sharp. Play that again. Now back to C with your first finger. Then down to the root A with your 3rd finger on the 7th fret of the 4th string. Remember, you can always use the cycle button to repeat an exercise so you can work on them over and over. And you can also slow an exercise down using the speed slider, then gradually speed it up as you get more comfortable. Let's play that 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. The next half-step lick works your 4th finger, and it goes like this. Start by playing D with your 4th finger on the 10th fret of the 1st string. Then bend it up a half step to D sharp. Do that again. Then play a C with your 2nd finger on the 8th fret. Play the bend from the 10th fret again. Play the C again. Then finish on the A with your 4th finger on the 10th fret of the 2nd string. Let's play that together. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's try one more half-step lick. For this one, we'll use our first finger to bend the note. It goes like this. Play D with your first finger on the 7th fret of the 3rd string. Bend the D up a half step. Then play C with your 4th finger on the 10th fret of the 4th string. Play that 2 more times. And finish with the root A, with your first finger on the 7th fret of the 4th string. Let's give it a try. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now let's try some licks using whole step bends. You can use your other fingers to help push the string. In the first lick, we'll use the 3rd finger for bending the note. It goes like this. Start with your 3rd finger on the 7th fret of the 3rd string. Bend the D up a whole step to E. You can check the pitch by playing the E on the open 1st string. Play that again. Now play C with your first finger on the 5th fret. Do the whole step bend with your 3rd finger again, and back to C on the 5th fret. Let's try that 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. The next lick uses the 2nd finger to play a whole step bend like this. Play C with your 2nd finger on the 13th fret of the 2nd string. Then bend up a whole step to D. Try it again. And finish on the A with your 3rd finger on the 14th fret of the 3rd string. Let's play that a few times. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's the last whole step lick. This is a great lick for building your finger strength and developing your sense of pitch with whole step bends. It's a little more challenging too, so don't be discouraged if you can't get it at first. Just take it slow. For this lick, start by playing a D with your 4th finger on the 15th fret of the 2nd string. Then bend it up a whole step to E. While you hold the bent note, play E with your 1st finger at the 12th fret of the 1st string. Try to make sure the bent note matches the pitch of the 1st string E. It won't be perfect, but that slight clash is what gives this kind of bend a classic blues sound. Now play C with your 2nd finger on the 13th fret of the 2nd string. Play that 2 more times. And now finish on A with your 3rd finger on the 14th fret of the 3rd string. Let's play that a few times. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's try a few prebending licks. The first one we'll play is a half-step prebend using your 2nd finger that goes like this. Start with your 2nd finger on the 8th fret of the 3rd string for a D sharp. Prebend up a half step to E. You can check the pitch with the open 1st string or open 6th string. Play the bent note and let it fall down to D sharp. Now play D with your 1st finger at the 7th fret. Then C with your 4th finger at the 10th fret of the 4th string. Back to D on the 3rd string. Then back to C on the 4th string. And finish on an A with your 1st finger on the 7th fret of the 4th string. Let's play that a few times. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we'll practice a whole step prebend with a 3rd finger that goes like this. Start with your third finger on the D at the 7th fret of the 3rd string. Bend it up a whole step to E. Again, you can check the pitch with the open 1st or 6th string. Play the bent note and let it fall. Do that again. Then play a C at the 5th fret with your 1st finger. Play G with your 1st finger at the 5th fret of the 4th string. And finish with A using your 3rd finger at the 7th fret. Let's play that a few times. 1, 2, 3, 4. For the last prebend exercise, we'll bend a whole step with the 4th finger like this. Start by playing G with your 4th finger at the 12th fret of the 3rd string. Then bend it up a whole step to A. You can use the open 5th string A to check your pitch. Play the bent note and let it fall back. Next, play an E at the 9th fret with your 1st finger. Bend at the 12th fret again. Let it fall. And finish with a C using your 2nd finger on the 10th fret of the 4th string. Let's try that. 1, 2, 3, 4. To practice our vibrato, let's play the A minor pentatonic scale starting on the 5th fret of the 6th string, using the scale position we learned earlier. We'll play it very slow so you can give each note some vibrato. 3, 4. And back down. Let's practice the first lead lick with half-step bends. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now let's practice the second lead lick with whole step bends. We'll play this one 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's play the third lead lick with vibrato. 1, 2, 3. Now let's practice the first phrase of the fourth set of lead licks, which goes like this. Let's play that 4 times. 1, 2, 3. Now let's try the second phrase of the lick, which goes like this. Again, let's play it 4 times. 1, 2, 3. Now let's put the 2 phrases together. 1, 2, 3. Again. Now let's try the phrase that works over the 5 chord, that goes like this. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. And then the lick finishes with the second phrase like this. Now let's try the whole thing, starting with the first phrase. 1, 2, 3. In this version of the song, we'll start by repeating the first lick we learned in this lesson over one cycle of the 12-bar blues progression in A. Then we'll move on to the second lick for another 12-bar cycle, then the third lick for a 12-bar cycle, and finish with the fourth set of licks. Listen how the same lick works over different chords. On the last 2 times through the progression, I'll play rhythm guitar, and you can improvise a solo using the A minor pentatonic scale. You can play freely or try to use some of the licks we've learned in this lesson. In this version, you're free to solo for the entire length of the song. I'll be playing rhythm guitar, so you can use some of the licks you learned in this lesson. Try out some of your own ideas using the A minor pentatonic scale and have some fun.